The rivalry between Wolverine and Sabretooth is one of the most storied in all comics, worthy of mention alongside Batman and the Joker, Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, and Superman and Lex Luthor. While the two nigh-immortal mutants have been at each other's throats for more than 30 years, this wasn't always the case. Before Wolverine and Sabretooth became some of the most well-established archenemies in comic history, they were first pitted up against two different Marvel heroes. Wolverine entered the Marvel Universe in 1974, with Sabretooth following shortly behind in 1977. More than a decade would pass until the two mutants finally crossed paths in Uncanny X-Men number 212 by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis, though it and the subsequent issue would waste no time establishing that Logan and Victor had a history off the pages. While Chris Claremont always intended the two men to be connected, both had to prove themselves elsewhere in Marvel Comics first. Wolverine made his debut first in The Incredible Hulk number 180 by Len Wein and Herb Trimpe, tangling with the Hulk himself. Deployed by the Canadian government, the mutant Weapon X, as he's already dubbed, is tasked with breaking up a fight between the Hulk and the monstrous Wendigo. The Wendigo quickly withdraws from the melee, leaving Wolverine and the Hulk brawling for the duration of The Incredible Hulk number 181. The story wastes little time establishing Wolverine as the character readers know today. He's small, fast, unrelenting, and equipped with retractable adamantium claws. Though he survives a degree of punishment that would kill an ordinary man, Wolverine is ultimately bested by the Hulk. The Canadian government would recall him in the subsequent issue, and Wolverine wouldn't re-emerge until next year's Giant-Size X-Men number 1 by Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. Wolverine and the Hulk have continued to clash over the decades, with Hulk generally getting the upper hand. Old Man Logan, however, did triumph lethally over the villainous Hulk in his timeline after being eaten by his long-running rival. Before Sabretooth fought Wolverine, he took on Iron Fist. Sabretooth debuted 3 years later in Iron Fist number 14 by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. This early appearance of Sabretooth diverges somewhat from the mutant villain, an occasional anti-hero, of more modern times. While he possesses the same feral ferocity, heightened senses, and razor-sharp claws, Sabretooth is never mentioned as being a mutant and lacks his defining healing factor. He instead serves as a bestial foil to Iron Fist, pitting the martial artist's own technique against an enemy who is pure speed, strength, and ferocity. Sabretooth is mentioned as being a modern-day pirate placed in charge of a group of mercenaries that kidnap Iron Fist's lawyer Jaren Hogarth. Sabretooth would spend the next few years being bested by Iron Fist, and infamously getting trounced by a powerless Black Cat, before Chris Claremont could bring him into the X-Men's fold in the 1980s. Danny and Victor have still butted heads over the years. In Iron Fist 2017, by Ed Brisson and Mike Perkins, Iron Fist once again pummels Sabretooth before enlisting his aid against the champions of the Council of Lu Shi. Sabretooth's only victory over Rand over the years existed only in his mind, after being exiled to the pit on Krakoa, along with fantasizing about repeatedly and violently killing the X-Men. Sabretooth also allows himself to live the illusion of ripping off Iron Fist's still glowing hands. Before Sabretooth and Wolverine became each other's nemesis, both mutants had already established not only their place in Marvel but rivalries they maintain until the present day. While often alongside his fellow X-Men, Wolverine has done what few in Marvel heroes have and repeatedly confounded the Hulk over the years. Meanwhile, Sabretooth still moonlights in the rogues gallery of his first enemy, Iron Fist, a vestige of an era before Chris Claremont could achieve his vision of pitting him against Wolverine as his larger, darker mirror.